Welcome to the official Florida Bar Podcast, where we cover practice management, leadership, and what's happening in Florida law. Brought to you by the Florida Bar Practice Resource Institute. You're listening to Legal Talk Network.
Hello, and welcome to the Florida Bar Podcast, brought to you by the Practice Resource Institute on Legal Talk Network. We're so glad you're joining us. This is Christine Bilbrey, and I'm a practice management advisor at PRI and one of the hosts for today's show, which is being recorded from our offices in Tallahassee, Florida. My co-host is Jonathon Israel.
Hello, I'm Jonathon Israel, and I'm the director of the Florida Bar's Practice Resource Institute. Our goal at PRI is to assist Florida attorneys with running the business side of their law practices. We'll be focusing on a different aspect of technology each month, and we'll carry that theme through our newsletter, website, blog, and with related tech tips and articles.
So this month at PRI, our topic is small firm tech. And joining us today is Andrew LeGrand. Andrew is the founder of Spera Law Group, a cloud and paperless law firm in New Orleans, Louisiana. He helps small business owners create and protect successful companies. His firm has been recognized in Forbes and Business Insider, among others. Super Lawyer selected him to their Rising Star list in 2015, 2016, as well as 2017 as a business and corporate attorney. As a tech nerd with a law license, Andrew also works as a technology consultant for Paperless Chase and has presented at the American Bar Association's Tech Show as well as Clio 9 conference. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
And I have to tell you, you're like a trifecta for us because you're a techie nerd, you're an attorney, and you help individuals start businesses. So we're excited to have you. But tell our listeners about Spera Law Group and how you have automated your own firm.
So I started this law firm about 5 years ago as a fresh young lawyer at a law school. And I guess one of the problems that I first kind of encountered was how do I hire staff? Or how do I do some of the small things that a law firm needs to do on a day-to-day basis just to run. As most lawyers are when they're first starting out, I was doing everything on my own. Creating file folders, creating email labels, just all those sorts of little basic things that you would normally hire an assistant to do for you. Well, being a young lawyer right out of law school, I didn't have any money to hire an assistant. I didn't have a whole lot of clients, so I didn't have money to earn from clients to hire an assistant. But I had time, I had tech skills. So I was able to apply those tech skills to say, here's a problem that here's something that I'm doing over and over and over again. And it's repetitive. It's consistently the same thing. How can I, use technology to automate that? So that's something I still apply to my practice, is trying to continually recognize the problems that I'm having or the things that I'm doing repetitively and trying to figure out if there's a technology solution out there to fix those sorts of things. So I'm always looking at that tech solution to make my life a little bit easier.
So what are some of your very favorite ways that you were able to get rid of some of those repetitive tasks? What are the products that you found?
I think my favorite thing, honestly, that I use every day is Text Expander. It's a keyboard app, I guess. It's an app available on your phone, on your desktop computer. But basically what it allows you to do is type a few keystrokes and expand that into a word or a phrase or a certain set of facts. So, for instance, that bio you read at the beginning, I type on my keyboard X bio, and that whole thing pops out, and you can't hear it because we're on a podcast, but there's links to some of those articles you talked about on Forbes. And so that's something that, when I need to update my bio, I go into Text Expander and just change it there. When somebody says, hey, Andrew, I need your bio, I just respond to an email, X bio, and boom, it pops up. So I'm not rewriting it every time, or I don't have to go and copy and paste it. And I've got maybe, I don't even know how many, several hundred snippets at this point in time. Everything from long, complicated things like that bio. You asked me for a headshot, so it's, I have that URL saved as a little Text Expander snippet, to more common things. In my business practice, I'm always telling people, contact the Louisiana Secretary of State. That's a lot of words to type. Louisiana Secretary of State, XLASOS. Boom. Pops out, and it's right every time. So Text Expander is it's a great automation because it's, as lawyers, we're all dealing with text. It doesn't matter whether you're transactional or a litigator. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're dealing with text somewhere. So that's something that I really love just because it saves me a little bit of time each and every day.
It gives you a little more time to be working on the creative sides of things when you're starting a business. And you mentioned you didn't have a lot of money to hire staff. That comes up so much at PRI when someone is starting a law firm. So what is something you were able to do to replace, back in the old days, people would have a receptionist and a paralegal and a legal secretary. What is something you found to help you reduce some of those staff members?
For a long time I was answering my own phone. But a few years ago, I started experimenting with some of the different phone answering services out there. And that's something that I can definitely say is an awesome time saver. There's a lot of phone answering services out there, and we can talk more about what they are and what needs they might fulfill. But some of my favorite things are the ability that somebody calls my line and, it's a solicitor, and my receptionist recognizes that and sends them to voicemail. And I'll see that voicemail in my email, and I'll immediately be able to just hit delete, rather than having to take the call and listen to their pitch and just waste my time, ignoring that. And I've also set up scripts that those people can follow for new client intake. So when a new client calls, the receptionist is able to get name, phone, email address, some basic information from that person, rather than me having to pick up the phone when I might be in a meeting with another client or some other situation. I'm at least capturing that basic contact information so I can get back to them when I need to.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds like a huge time saver for you. And then on that same lines, kind of integrations. I mean, do these products, are they able to integrate back into your case management system? So maybe you're not just giving them a script, but maybe they're actually able to start the whole process with the intake?
Yeah, so I use a product called Active Campaign. And Active Campaign is sales and marketing automation, I guess is what they call it. Almost like a poor man's Infusionsoft, if you've heard of that. But basically what happens is somebody calls for intake. They get name, contact information, some basic information, and there's some marketing automation that starts happening in the background that I'm constantly working on. So you call my firm and you're looking for services, and I want to set you up with one of my $300 initial consultations. And the receptionist now that I'm working with will actually help me do that. But if they don't do that right away, there's some emails they start getting in the background, right? So as soon as you get off the phone, as soon as that client gets off the phone, within a few minutes, they're going to have an email from my firm saying, "Hey, Jonathan, thanks for calling me. It's a pleasure. Here's the link that you need to go to schedule that initial consultation." So it saves me some of the basic initial follow-up there. So I don't have to follow up with each and every person individually. I'm able to do some basic automated follow-up with them just to kind of glide them into that glide path of, hey, here's how you start meeting with me. And it's cool because on the back end of that, because I'm using software to see that, I can see when people are opening the emails and clicking links. And that gives me a good idea, honestly, of how much this person really cares about scheduling a consultation. I mean, if you call and you're not willing to schedule the consultation, and then you get an email and you don't open the email, and know you're probably just a tire kicker who's probably not going to hire me to do thousands of dollars work for you anyway. So that's been a really cool program for me to play around with, and that's something I'm continually developing. I'm maybe now 2 or 3 years into using that piece of software.
I like that because you're doing the very first thing that they're reassured that you've immediately made contact with them again. It makes you look very professional. You look super responsive, because I think so often when attorneys, they get that message and the client may be just waiting around for days, wondering if they're going to be called back. So I love that they're getting an immediate response. And I'm sure that you're able to probably turn those into actual consultations more quickly. Are you still with the same receptionist that you started with? Because you've been doing this for a while. So did you work your way through several different products or companies?
I've worked my way through several different ones, and I've also tried to figure out what they're all really good at and how they can help me. I started out with some really cheap ones, first of all, and they were really, really bad. They couldn't say my name right. Some of them had really hard to understand accents. It was like, I think I was paying like $60 a month for one at one point in time. And I had a couple clients complain like right away. They're like, well, what's going on with your phone system? So immediately, like, that didn't last. I don't even remember who that company was, but that didn't last very long. I guess what I've learned from them is that really to get this good like receptionist service, you're looking at spending about $150 a month minimum.
Which is still a bargain, yeah, compared to a person in your office.
Compared to a person in your office, or compared to answering the phone every time yourself. So then from there, I moved up to Ruby. And I loved Ruby receptionists. They were still probably one of the best companies that I've ever dealt with as far as customer service and being clear and responsive and taking good marching orders and just listening and being engaged. I was really impressed with them for a long time, and eventually just had to kind of move on from them. They weren't offering me everything, and I got into a position where I had to separate from a business partner and kind of had to go through some changes at my firm. So I love Ruby. They were high touch. They were a little bit more than what I was looking to spend at the present time. So Ruby was good for that, like, hey, we're smart, we know what we're doing, we're cheery, we're helpful. But then I had to switch to another company called CVSI in Atlanta. They were a good bit cheaper than Ruby. I lost some of that personal touch, though, I felt like. They were more of a call center than a virtual receptionist. So what I learned in kind of looking at those two things is that Ruby was great for really having that personal touch with people, and CVSI was good for volume. They were a lot cheaper, but I think when you don't need as much personal touch, but if you have a high call volume, I think they could be in a position to help you come in and manage some of that really high call volume. If you've got some sort of personal injury practice, or if you've got a practice where people are calling you all the time and you need 24/7 coverage, they were really good at that. But recently what I've done in the past few months is I've switched again, because the problem I was having, I talked about, people would call and they'd want to schedule one of those initial consultations. So I needed to charge them $300 and get them on my calendar. So I needed to find a virtual receptionist that would agree to do that. Went back to Ruby, said, all right, I'm in a position now where I'm willing to pay you to do this. I don't think they offer that payment and scheduling solution just yet. So I found another service out of Scottsdale, Arizona called Back Office Betties. And I've been testing them out for the past couple months, and we've been working together, and now they're in a position where when somebody calls, they can take that $300 payment from somebody, get them on my calendar, and I never even talk to the person until that automated email goes out that says, hey, you've scheduled a consultation. Here's some of the documents we need from you. And here's the time of your appointment, and you're ready to go. So what it does is it's removed me from that equation of, hey, Andrew, there's a new client on the line. Can I put them through to talk to you? And a lot of times I'm using that $300 fee as kind of a barrier to make sure that this person's serious about working on their business and is willing to invest in that.
Are you sharing a calendar with them? Like, how does the whole process work?
Yeah. So I've gone through a lot of different scheduling apps too. I was using one for a long time called Doodle, Doodle, Doodle. And they were really good because what Doodle did was it connected to your calendar, and it allows people to see when you're available and when you're not. Just very simply, he's available here, he's not available here, and they can request schedule appointments. And that was actually way reasonably priced, like $40 a year, I think. So Doodle was a really great thing when people would say, hey, I want to schedule a lunch with you. Hey, I want to schedule this with you. What do I need to do? I think like Jonathon, you asked me, hey, when can we do this? And I was like, I don't know. Here's my calendar. You figure out when you're available, when I'm available, and we'll go from there. So I used Doodle for a long time. The problem with Doodle is that they didn't take payment. So I needed to move to a solution that would allow me to accept payments before somebody would actually get on my calendar. So what I landed on now is a product called Acuity Scheduling, and I've been really satisfied with them. It's a really smart solution from the client standpoint, from the end user standpoint. It's pretty straightforward and easy to use. From my standpoint on the back end, there's a lot of different flexibility. So what I have going on in the background now when somebody calls is they actually reach a virtual receptionist at Back Office Betties. They load up a form that's an intake form that once they complete it, will drop it into ActiveCampaign. And then to schedule that, they jump over into Acuity, and they were able to enter the person's contact information again, take their credit card information, and give them a date to schedule.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I can speak from firsthand experience that just scheduling this podcast was super easy. What would have taken a whole chain of emails back and forth, took 2 minutes just to open up your calendar and see how it fit with ours. So it was a huge time saver there.
Yeah, I think that's, I have a couple of clients that have actually gotten to adopt Doodle and different time booking programs as well, and it's really nice. Like when I need to meet with them, I encourage some of my clients to do it that are especially the busier clients. I'm like, hey, set this up so that I can, when I need to book an appointment with you, I don't even email them and ask anymore. I just go on their calendar and book an appointment, and they see that and know, oh, my lawyer wants to talk to me. So it kind of works out that way too. When I can get my clients to start using it, it eliminates all the back and forth of, what about this time? What about this time? What about that? Well, I'm not available now. And Acuity actually handles rescheduling too. Which I thought was a great feature, but I've had one person who for the past month has rescheduled their appointment like 4 times. So it might be backfiring on me now, but it's neat that they can just go in there and say, oh, I can't meet him this Wednesday, rather than him calling me and me having to change everything. No, just click the reschedule link, and you're able to see when I'm available.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Jonathon, since he actually used this, did you get a link through an email to his calendar, or was it on his website? How did that work for you?
For me, it opened up on his website. Andrew had initially sent me the link to his calendar, but it opened up on his website.
Okay.
Yeah, super easy.
I think what I've got is just a link in my email signature. So when somebody says, hey, I want to schedule an appointment, it's, hey, yeah, there's a link in my signature. Click that, and you'll go through. And most people kind of just figure it out.
What else are you doing in your office that's helped you automate? So I love that the intake thing seems seamless, so people can reach you, schedule, make that initial payment. Are there other things that you're using as a small firm?
Yeah, so one of the apps that I love to use and go through is a program called Zapier. It's actually what I talked about at ClioCon back in Chicago in the fall. And Zapier is an app that connects all these different apps, right? I'm using Clio for my practice management, and Xero for time and billing, and Google to manage my mail and my contacts, and Acuity to manage my scheduling, and ActiveCampaign to manage my marketing and sales automation. But Zapier is the glue that really connects them all together and makes it easy for me to move data from one place to another, or use data in one place and I'm not using it somewhere else. And it's kind of hard to describe just because it's so customized to my workflow. Right? So really I've just gotten my hands dirty in there, and I think I knew a little bit of programming, or I did know a little bit of programming before I started practicing law, so that's helped. But for the most part, a lot of times it's like, well, I want to do this when somebody schedules an appointment. And so let me go see if Zapier can do this. So I'll go in there and say, when someone schedules an appointment, do this. And so that's been an awesome program that's super powerful. And actually, they've made it pretty easy to use. So even if you don't understand coding and programming, it's not hard to go in there and say, well, these are the different apps that I'm using. What can I do with this? But that is the glue of everything. Without that, I don't really know how I would do all this automation. I'd imagine it would cost me a lot more money to hire a programmer to do it than the $15 a month that I pay to Zapier.
That's exciting. So for people that are listening, we're going to put the transcript up too. So all of these different, you'll know how to spell Acuity and Zapier in case you can't find them, because I'm curious now. I want to go play with those. What are you going to be talking about later this month? You're going to be one of the guest speakers at the Florida Bar Tech Show, I think January 27th and 28th. And so we're looking forward to that. Do you know what you're going to be talking about then?
Yeah, at the Florida Bar Tech Show, I'm talking about text and document automation and niche marketing. So the text and document automation, I'll go into more detail into how I'm using Text Expander on the very basic level. And I'll go more into document automation. I use a product called the Form Tool. It's similar to a Hot Docs, but it's a document automation program that runs in Microsoft Word, where I'm able to type in some basic information, basically answer a Q&A table, and have it generate a document. In my case, it's generating pretty complex documents like operating agreements and the documents necessary to file an LLC on the state level. But really, it could be applied to anything. So that's one talk, is this text and document automation. And the second talk is niche marketing. I get a pretty good amount of calls and emails or contacts from the internet through my small business website, through blogging and content. And I think I maybe get about 25 leads a month through my website. Just small business owners in Louisiana, and very, very rarely am I getting someone who doesn't fit my typical client profile. People are always like, man, if you ever come across a personal injury case or this kind of case, let me know, give me a call. It's like just my marketing is not attracting any of those, which is great because I'm not spending time or resources talking to people who I'm not really interested in helping, or I'm not in a position to help. So niche marketing is fun. And I think that's just a really fun topic because it's gotten pretty easy to understand how to do. And just with the tools out there of WordPress and blogging and social media, it's become easier and easier for small firm lawyers to find their niche and get that word out there that that's what they're doing.
I love that. So that you're helping those young attorneys figure out how to not only run their business, but actually find the clients. So those are the magic elements to getting your firm going. That's very helpful. It looks like we've come to the end of our program, so I want to thank Andrew LeGrand for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to some warm weather in Orlando in, 2 weeks now?
That's right. It's about 75, I think, today in Tallahassee, so we're enjoying that. Although we know that you're in a beautiful section of New Orleans right there on Canal Street. So are you cooking gumbo this week? I saw that's one of your pastimes.
I don't think this week. We definitely we had some really cold weather over New Year's in the first week, and there was a lot of black-eyed peas and cabbage and gumbo cooking going on. Right now, I think we're back to the warm weather. This New Orleans winter might be a lot like North Florida, I imagine, where it's biting cold one week, and then the next week it's let's wear shorts and a t-shirt again.
Yeah, we love that.
Yep.
And if our listeners have questions or want to follow up with you, how can they reach you? Are you on social media, Andrew?
Yeah, the best way to reach me might be just via Twitter. Follow me on there. I'm always sharing different news stories. I guess because of my marketing, I'm sharing a lot more of business stuff. But, I'm usually there. My handle is at Law by LeGrand, Law by BYLEGRAND. And then if you just search my name, Andrew LeGrand, New Orleans, I'm going to pop up. There's a couple other Andrew LeGrands out there, but they're in Dallas and New York. So if you just find me in New Orleans, it's SEO's gotten pretty easy, and you'll find me, and feel free to reach out, and I'm always happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. So this has been another edition of the Florida Bar Podcast, brought to you by the Practice Resource Institute on Legal Talk Network. I'm Christine Bilbrey.
And I'm Jonathon Israel. Until next time, thanks for listening.
The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer. Thanks for listening to the official Florida Bar Podcast, brought to you by the Florida Bar Practice Resource Institute and produced by the broadcast professionals at Legal Talk Network. Subscribe to the RSS feed on LegalTalkNetwork.com or in iTunes.